it's not a newsflash that young people, many of them, are uncomfortable in their bodies. That's not news. What's news here is that there have been people with an ideology of queer theory, going back to critical theory. It's really an assault on truth. And they've sought to say, hey, that confusion that you're feeling, here's what it is. Here's the name for it. It's about gender, not about your sex. And then there's a medical industry coming behind that saying, a certain percentage of the people who claim to be trans are going to want to do something about it medically. They can be led to believe that by taking hormone therapy or even puberty blockers if they're very young, they can solve this problem and earn the medical industry billions of dollars. So the confusion is not new. What is new is a culture that says there's no such thing as truth, an ideology that says there's no such thing as a dimorphic sexuality that's relevant to anything else, and a medical industry that says we see dollar signs.
Jeff Myers and Brandon Showalter joining me today here on the Meeting House on Faith Radio. It is the 2023 National Religious Broadcasters Convention in Orlando. Well, this is very enlightening, Jeff, as you were sharing, with respect to the medical industry, again, being an intentional effort that has been undertaken here. And Brandon, you and I have had the conversation about the fact that there are those, especially medical professionals, that buy into this ideology and promote it. They don't even want you to know that it's taking place. And so now when you have hospitals such as Boston Children's and Vanderbilt and others that have been exposed, it really shows that, well, the culture at large has been deceived. That this really is going on. It's not a matter of nothing to see here, keep driving. This is something that is taking place, and it's obviously very insidious.
Oh, it's so insidious. And so many of the activists that have been slowly trying to inculcate the public with this dogma have operated by stealth. Very sneaky, behind closed doors, nothing to see here. But then as sunlight is shown on it, and as you mentioned Vanderbilt, where they had the video footage that emerged from the Daily Wire, where they actually had doctors on tape saying out loud that these bottom surgeries, as they are called euphemistically, where they disfigure the genitals of people, are a good moneymaker for the hospital. They actually said it. And Boston Children's Hospital, you also mentioned, where the doctors were admitting on their own videos, bearing their own watermark to doing these surgeries. And but beyond that, the activists have been even worse, I think, in the media, which has given cover to these medical institutions. They've papered over it with gender-affirming care, the euphemisms, or are there other things, transition care, these other things that make it all sound so sweet and nice. But it's the manipulation and the twisting of language that has shielded what's actually going on, which, in my opinion, and Jeff, I know, shares this view, are medical atrocities. This is, we believe, one of the worst medical scandals and child abuse scandals that the world has ever seen. And it's aided and abetted by a corporate press that has sort of been the protective phalanx around the medical institutions that are irreversibly harming children and young people who will have to live with the regret of what they did to their bodies for the rest of their life. And we know children can't give consent, but the manipulation is just so constant in this space. And the activists have indeed been very sneaky and stealthy all these years. But I think finally now there has been an awakening. You're from Alabama. They passed a state law to restrict this for minors before most of this most recent rash of states in the last couple of months have done so. So the public is waking up, but I think it is hard to believe when people first confront it because it's so horrible. They can't believe that children are being disfigured and harmed and sterilized like this. But then when they realize, no, it's actually as bad as we're saying and probably worse, then it's like, okay, well, people react very strongly when they see doctors literally disfiguring a child's body.